Our channel is always dedicated to bringing you the most shocking, suspenseful, and emotionally charged twists from the world of Beyond the Gates. Tonight, we unravel one a night drenched in storm and tragedy, where every shadow concealed a hidden danger and every glance whispered suspicion. It began on a rain-soaked evening when Kat and Randy stepped out of the grandeur of a lavish party, their silhouettes framed by flashing lights and the echo of distant thunder. The night should have ended with nothing more than whispered gossip and fading music, but fate had something darker waiting. As they crossed the slick pavement, a black car emerged from the gloom, accelerating with merciless precision. The violent impact came too quickly for screams or evasions. The sickening sound of shattering glass and twisting metal reverberated through the street, and in a single instant, lives were shattered. Randy collapsed in a pool of blood, his body broken, while Kat was flung violently to the side, her dress torn, her consciousness slipping away in the torrent of rain. The spectacle froze every witness, silencing the neighborhood with a collective gasp of horror. At the hospital, sterile walls could not contain the chaos of emotions tearing through the families and friends who gathered. Whispers spread like wildfire, and every face wore the mark of dread. Doctors rushed behind closed doors, their voices clipped and urgent, while those waiting outside clung to fragments of hope. Every second felt like an eternity, and the fear of losing two central figures of the community wrapped the night in suffocating tension. Amid this atmosphere, the police wasted no time in launching an investigation. Tire marks, surveillance cameras, and testimonies were all gathered, yet the evidence began to form a disturbing pattern that pointed in one unexpected direction: Naomi. Naomi had long carried an undercurrent of resentment toward Kat, a resentment fed by the embers of secrets buried deep in their shared past. For years, the community speculated on the tension between them, subtle but undeniable, and now, in the wake of tragedy, suspicion crystallized into sharp focus. Naomi insisted upon her innocence, her voice steady yet betraying a quiver in her hands, a tremor in her gaze. To those who watched, her denial felt less like certainty and more like fear. Her presence, once commanding, now seemed fragile, as though she were a fragile glass vessel about to fracture under pressure. Her gestures betrayed her, as did the restless flicker of her eyes whenever Randy's name was spoken. The detectives combed through her past, unearthing threads of bitterness and private altercations that painted her not as a bystander but as someone who could harbor motive. A parking lot argument years before, a whispered confession about betrayal. And the lingering knowledge that Kat once possessed information capable of destroying Naomi's carefully built image all swirled together to weave a dangerous narrative. For the Dupree family, the possibility that Naomi could be behind the attack felt both unthinkable and plausible, a paradox that fueled whispered debates in hushed corners of the hospital corridors. Kat remained unconscious, her body tethered to machines that beeped rhythmically, her face pale against the white of hospital linens. Doctors were cautious with their prognosis, unwilling to promise recovery. Randy's condition was worse, the trauma of the impact had pushed him to the brink, and each update from the operating room plunged his loved ones deeper into despair. While his life hung by a thread, conversations turned sharper, more accusatory. Naomi, though not formally charged, became the center of everyone's suspicion, and the weight of that collective judgment pressed down heavily on her. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil inside. Rain battered against the windows, wind howled like the echo of grief, and every bolt of lightning felt like a reminder of the night's violence. Naomi retreated into isolation, her mind racing through fragments of the evening, trying to reconstruct her steps. She knew the car had struck with intention, not chance. Whether she was guilty or not, the true driver remained shrouded in mystery, and the possibility that someone else orchestrated the attack began to gnaw at her. Yet each time she opened her mouth to explain, her words tangled, failing to free her from suspicion. The Duprees convened quietly, their unity fractured by grief and uncertainty. Old rivalries resurfaced, accusations floated unspoken yet heavy in the air. Some believed Naomi's guilt was obvious, others feared the truth was far more twisted, a conspiracy designed to pit them against each other. In this fractured moment, Chelsea wept silently, her tears mingling with memories of Randy's laughter, while Tomas clenched his fists, vowing to uncover the truth no matter how deeply it was buried. The crash was not merely an accident, it was a calculated strike at the very heart of the family, a message delivered in blood and fear. Days passed, and the investigation deepened. Forensic reports suggested the car had been tampered with, its plates changed, its trail scrubbed clean. The driver had vanished into the storm as if swallowed by the night itself. Yet fragments of evidence persisted: a strand of hair, a witness claiming to have seen a figure near Naomi's driveway hours before the crash, financial records hinting at large, unexplained withdrawals. Each clue seemed to tether Naomi closer to the crime, though none could fully bind her. The line between guilt and framing blurred dangerously, and Naomi stood precariously in the center. Her nights were haunted by nightmares, visions of Kat's broken body and Randy's blood pooling under the rain. Even in her waking hours, whispers followed her, neighbors avoiding her gaze, friends recoiling with doubt. She felt imprisoned not by walls but by suspicion itself, her every movement scrutinized, her every breath measured against the possibility of guilt. Yet beneath her fear, a fire of defiance flickered. Naomi knew someone wanted her destroyed, and unless she uncovered the truth, the noose of suspicion would tighten until escape was impossible. As Kat lay silent in her hospital bed, her dreams twisted with fragmented memories of the crash. Flashes of headlights, the cold shock of rain, and a fleeting glimpse of a shadow behind the wheel tormented her subconscious. If she awoke, she could speak the truth. If she awoke, she could save Naomi or condemn her. The entire community awaited her awakening like a jury waiting for its witness, and every moment of her silence deepened the suspense. Randy's fate grew darker. Doctors whispered of irreversible damage, of chances slipping away. The family braced for the worst, their grief mingling with fury. Who would dare strike at them so cruelly? Who stood to gain from Randy's fall? Questions multiplied without answers, feeding the storm of paranoia. Some turned their suspicions to business rivals, others to spurned lovers, but always the thread wound its way back to Naomi, whose connection to Kat's secrets made her the most convenient target. The night of the crash became more than a tragedy, it became a riddle, a fracture line splitting the community into factions of belief and doubt. Naomi's innocence or guilt was no longer merely her burden but the crucible upon which relationships would be tested, loyalties broken, and truths revealed. Behind closed doors, alliances formed, plans whispered, and enemies sharpened their knives in the shadows. The truth, however, remained just beyond reach, hidden in the darkness of motives yet to be exposed. Whether Naomi was truly responsible, or whether she too was a pawn in someone else's game, the storm she was caught in would not end soon. Every passing day promised new revelations, and every revelation threatened to topple the fragile world of Fairmont Crest. And so, the story of that rain-soaked night did not conclude with broken bodies on a street, nor with the sterile hum of machines in a hospital room. It stretched forward like a shadow, casting its influence over every life connected to it, binding them all to a destiny of secrets, betrayal, and reckoning. This was not just an accident. It was the beginning of a war fought not with weapons but with hidden truths, and its outcome would determine who would rise, who would fall, and who would be left standing when the storm finally cleared. Thank you for joining us on this unraveling journey of Beyond the Gates, where every moment carries the weight of suspense and every secret hides the power to destroy. Stay with us, because the story is only beginning, and the gates have only just opened. Remember to follow and subscribe to our channel so you never miss the next shocking twist that will redefine everything you thought you knew.